Their courage stops short when it comes to Israel. Can you imagine me, an Arab, Muslim, Middle Eastern, using Israeli media to prove my point?
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. So I was sent a somewhat hidden gem of a podcast featuring Bassem Youseff, hosted by the son of Gabor Daniel and his co-host Matt Lieb. It was a very interesting panel as Bassem is an Egyptian Muslim and both Daniel and Matt are Jewish. The part of their discussion that really stood out to me was when they spoke about how their peers in the entertainment industry who present themselves as based or anti-establishment are silent on the atrocities Israel have been committing for the past couple of years on a daily basis with no end in sight. This stance is even more significant since the tyrant Netanyahu has just announced that Israel will be occupying Gaza indefinitely, as if that wasn't always the plan. Bassem, Daniel and Matt not only called out the cowardice of those who stay silent on this modern day evil, they also brilliantly debunked every single propaganda lie the Israelis have ever come up with. Let's take a look at the first clip.
Authoritarians setting up these boundaries for acceptable speech, what you can and can't say, and the way that that is usually the gold mine for comics, because a comic plays with those boundaries. The point is that line being there usually is something that comics love to play with. I would say the difference now is I've never seen so much silence from the most yeah, I said it type comedians. I'll say what everyone, doesn't want me to say, but they won't say anything about Israel. It's like,
Ricky Gervais. Oh, did I offend you?
Yeah. Oh, me? Yeah.
Are you triggered?
Oh, yeah. Oh, are you sad now because I've said words? Well, I don't care because I'm a rebel. And then it's like, say something about Israel. No.
Yeah, it's funny that
don't care.
Yeah. Their courage stops at short when it comes to Israel, and the thing is, Israel is giving us so much material. The fact that they have been bragging for years that we are the only military in the world that warns civilians before bombing them. Oh my God!
I know.
Don't
Isn't that
say
nice?
that. And the thing is, they even lie about the whole idea about warning, because there have been documented cases about them giving safe passages to civilians and bombing it. It's like, go there, we're not gonna.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
There was there was a shadow of Hamas. I talked about how the Israeli government, they don't care about the Jewish people, don't even care about their own Jewish citizens. And I mentioned a very famous story that was published by the New York Times about how they have kidnapped Yemeni children from their Yemeni Jewish parents in a transition camp in 1950, and they took it away from them and they gave it to white Ashkenazi Jews. And I talk about another story about them deliberately sterilizing Jewish Ethiopian mothers, women. So these are two facts. And you look on their Hasbara accounts on X, and they're like, he's spreading lies. You guys admitted it. They are caught on record admitting it, and then they lie about it. If you notice how they attack you, they always say, you're lying. They never say what you lied about. They never get a counter proof to prove you're lying. And this is the way to shut a conversation. Anti-Semite. That's why you don't have a conversation anymore. You just blackmail people into fear.
I personally don't have anything against Ricky Gervais, and I guess the case can be made that his silence on the matter is better than him siding with Israel. However, the guys were right when they said that anyone with a large platform who's as outspoken as Ricky Gervais and is not calling out Israel's aggression, or at least calling for an end to the violence, is not showing courage whatsoever. As Bassem said, people are afraid of being labelled as anti-Semitic. But the fact that there are two Jewish men on the panel with Bassem who are also saying that harming innocent people in the name of Zionism is wrong is a clear indicator that this is not a matter of anti-Semitism, but instead a duty of care for our fellow human beings. And it was not only refreshing to see all three of these gentlemen state that silence on this matter is cowardice, but also to see them practice what they preach and speak about sensitive topics that no one wants to touch, even though they show us the true reality of Israel. Bassem bravely spoke about the displacement and sterilization of Yemeni and Ethiopian Jewish children in Israel due to them having darker skin, to basically preserve Israel's white European ethno-state ambitions. He also touched on the Israelis' horrific extermination of Palestinian refugees whom Israel had sent to supposed safe spots in the first place, where they killed them anyway. Bassem also spoke about how Israel has a massive social media bot account presence, pushing what he called Hasbara lies, where they group attack anyone exposing their immoral actions. Hasbara is an Israeli Israeli government term that means to explain their unethical behaviour through distortions and fabrications of the truth in order to change the narrative to make their actions look justified. Let's watch the next clip where Bassem and co speak about Christian Zionism.
It drives me crazy when the Christian Zionists say, like, God chosen people. It's like, all right, what about you? Like, don't you feel left out that you are unchosen? Like, if you think that they are the God-chosen people, why don't you join this? Why are you still a Christian? Why don't you join Judaism? If this is the God-chosen people, why are you staying a Christian?
They have a master plan.
They're chosen to be sacrificed on the altar of the second rapture. And I'm not talking about that fringe group in the United States. These are people in government. These are people that are in the military, congressmen and senators, elected officials. They are pushing the whole area to war, so Jesus will come, and in their mind, the Jews will be sacrificed, and they will either convert or be killed. Yes. And the extreme form of that in Judaism said, when the Messiah come, everybody will be slaves for us. You understand? They both want the same thing, but two different outcomes.
Third Temple Zionist extremists, they are being represented in government, and you see the results of that when you see how the general population in Israel responds to what is clearly this ethnic cleansing, this genocide, whatever they want to or don't want to call it. They know it's bad, and they do not care because it's just the societal effect of having this kind of Armageddon ideology and this idea of establishing a third temple through the destruction of Al-Aqsa.
Again, I respect how these men, despite the possible consequences, are talking about such sensitive topics without fear. I actually learned something new here. I was aware that both Christian and Jewish Zionists hold government and military positions in both America and Israel. The same could probably be said for most Western nations also. However, I was unaware that both these ideologies had the end goal of destruction of each other's groups when they summoned the Messiah at the expense of Al-Aqsa Mosque, like the guy said. And with Israel now having stolen so much land in the West Bank and Gaza, who knows how long it will be before they actually engage in the destruction of Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is also the third holiest site in Islam. Matt was spot on when he described this as an Armageddon ideology fueled by Zionist supremacy. Let's roll the next clip.
As if October 7th happened in a vacuum. The way that they deal with Palestinians as animals, they put them behind cages, behind big walls. They calorie count them. They put them under siege. And then you kill them remotely with your little drones and with your little F-16s behind the screens. At a certain point, when that wall is breached, when people go beyond the screen, you will be put face to face against your creation. We will be face to face with the Frankenstein that you have created all of these years. And you cannot ask them, oh God, play it nice. And what happened October 7th? 1,129 Israelis were killed. 735 of them were civilians, and 373 of them were police and military. And of course, all of the allegation of the rape, and I sent you a screenshot, like babies, it didn't happen, and they wanted to do that in order to create an effect. If you just question that from a journalistic integrity point, where like, can I have an evidence? No, you cannot say that. They called Palestinians hostages. The Israeli hostages. Why can't we call the Palestinians who are in Israeli prisons hostages? There are 5,000 Palestinian hostages. By the way, you remember when Hamas did that on October 7th, again, not defending Hamas, they said, like, our demands is to have a swap. Release our prisoners and we release yours. At a certain point, what can you do? You sit around doing nothing. People come into your house and take it away from you. That's in the West Bank. They take your land. They kill your children. You throw rocks. You take up weapon. They call you a terrorist. What can you do?
You march peacefully on the wall.
They kill you.
And they hold sniper contests about how many Palestinian knees and ankles they can take.
They will turn you into amputees.
They target already amputees. There was a human rights report because Israel claimed every single one of our bullets found its target. We were precision. See, this is the thing they want. They want to say we're precision. Okay, but then let's look at what the bullets hit. And that leads back to the question that they will not ask, which is, what were the Palestinians supposed to do?
This whole thing about like genocide, there is no genocide because there is not like a top to bottom orders to kill. No, when you create an atmosphere where if you kill a Palestinian, you get 1 month of community service. When you deliberately injure little kids and them, they are fined somewhere between $25 and $35. When you create that atmosphere, you basically tell them you can do whatever the hell you want. Okay, you don't like genocide? How about too much killing? How about extreme termination of life? These kind of like wordplay that doesn't mean anything. Let's say Israel today said, yes, we're committing genocide. What will happen? Nothing. Nothing. Because they are going to always be justified.
In just a couple of minutes of that clip, these guys totally debunked every single piece of Israeli deceptive propaganda ever constructed. From the weaponized false October 7th narrative still being used 2 years later in 2025 to kill children as we speak, to the Palestinian resistance being stereotyped as extremists, when in fact it is the Palestinians that have been on the receiving end of inhumane Israeli extremism for decades now. From Israel's destruction of Gaza and theft of land in the West Bank being dressed up as a mission to rescue hostages, to them refusing the option to exchange all Palestinian hostages for their own because they have ulterior motives. From Israel's denial of genocide and ethnic cleansing using wordplay, trickery and terminology, to them creating a culture where Palestinian life is cheap, where there is not only zero consequences for their senseless violence, but actually rewards in place for such wickedness. I recommend you go and watch the full episode, which I've linked in the description, where Bassem, Daniel and Matt go into intricate details on all these points and show receipts as proof to back up what they're talking about. Let's watch the last clip where the guys expose everyone that is complicit in Israel's corruption and crimes against humanity.
The Israeli paper that was submitted to International Court of Justice did not include the decapitated babies, did not include the none. And they're still repeating it. And this is the way that you change history.
Not just in like social media, but in 24-hour news networks in the West, and also like government spokespeople's offices, was an information war that was supposed to reach a critical mass of how much bad that Hamas did on this day. And the point was it was supposed to reach this like atrocity meter where for some people, even if some things that were like debunked later or whatnot, where you just went like, if the atrocity meter reaches this high, then genocide okay.
You could say it's an information war. It's an emotion war. Now that they've put those images in people's heads,
yes,
it doesn't matter if it's true.
This is a poison-pilled idea for the West. This is a no-go topic for anyone who's a liberal to even question whether or not someone was raped. Like, are the victims coming forward?
It's all there in the New York Times headline, screams without words.
Screams without words.
There were no words.
Sources.
Screams without testimonies.
Whatever kind of Hasbara, it always feels so stupid that I can't believe they expect us to believe it. And yet, they, at this point, have faced so little pushback from Western media and Western government officials that they will continue making up the most egregious bullshit because no one has ever called them out on it in the West, at the very least.
And this is what really pains me, is that you have the Israeli media admitting that all of these stories from Gaza were not true. And not the BBC, the CNN, MSB, none of them is even translating these reports. Can you imagine me, an Arab, Muslim, Middle Eastern, using Israeli media to prove my point? Daniel, before you go, a huge hello, a huge salute your incredible father. Seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
Professor Gabor, all respect to this man. He's amazing. Yeah,
I will pass that on.
Bassem Youseff made the brilliant point that when Israel had the chance to report war crimes to the International Court of Justice, in the document they submitted there were no reports of women being raped or children with their heads missing on October 7th like they claim in their propaganda campaigns. However, in contrast, there is countless amounts of actual video evidence of the Israelis raping Palestinian men, women and kids, on top of absolutely horrific footage of children who have their limbs and heads missing, as well as having their bodies ripped in half because of Israel dropping explosives on them. Like the guy said, despite this catastrophic and demonic disregard for human life, the Zionist entity continues to paint themselves as the so-called good guys with the help of Western governments and the mainstream media. I urge every single one of you, no matter the size of your platform, to keep posting, keep protesting, keep boycotting, keep debating and keep making videos. It's the least we could do for the innocent, defenseless people who are suffering at the hands of these satanic elites. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description. And remember to like, subscribe and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah, Jazakallah khair. Allahu Akbar, Allah.